Welcome to Crafty Chemist Designs. Today we are going to be making this beautiful Valentine scrapbook layout. I'm using the Now and Forever collection by Close to My Heart. It is so beautiful and so romantic. Look at how beautiful it is. I really love how some of the stickers have gold on them, gold foil. I love this heart doily. I think it really just makes this page. Let's take a closer look at this Now and Forever collection. It is very romantic and beautiful. You can tell I really love that top page because I don't even have a full sheet of that left to show you. That's how much I love it. So this one, on one side is a large floral and on the reverse side is a small floral. The second sheet, you have a mulberry colored paper with a lace overlay. This is scarlet background with a heart pattern on it. Those aren't polka dots, those are hearts. And then the third sheet is like a ledger paper. And then on the reverse side is this French-inspired sort of advertisements, postcards, in a ballerina and kind of desert rose color. You get 2 sheets of those 3 double-sided designs. Now this is the coordinating cardstock that's meant to go with that paper collection. Here you get 12 sheets, 2 each of these double-sided designs. You get White Daisy, Seabrook, Mulberry, Ballerina, Scarlet, and Desert Rose. Remember, our paper is 2-sided. One side is darker than the other. And you get 12 sheets of this, so 2 of each of those pages. And I just love how it comes together. It's so beautiful and romantic. So this is the layout that we are going to make. Let's see what we need to cut to get started for this layout. So I'm getting out my Fiskars trimmer. And the base page here is a piece of scarlet that is 12 by 12. So you don't need to cut that at all. However, I did gut the inside of this because really I am getting low on my scarlet, as you will see in a little bit. So I gutted it out. I left a 1-inch border all the way around so that I had a pretty large piece of scarlet left over for other projects. Okay, now let's look at the ballerina piece that is on top of that. And that piece is 11.5 by 11.5. Okay, so you're just going to make an 11.5 inch square. So let's get a piece of ballerina cardstock, open up my Fiskars trimmer, and I'm going to cut it at 11.5. So really all you're doing is cutting, a 1/2 inch off of both sides of this. Save those 1/2 inch strips to make another scrapbook layout. You can use them for trim or even really to journal on. Okay, the next piece we're going to cut is that Seabrook paper. And that Seabrook paper is 7 inches wide by 10 inches tall. I really love this color. This is a new color. Okay, here I have a piece of Seabrook scrap. Open up my trimmer so I can see the 7-inch mark. Okay, there we go. We're going to cut it at 7 inches wide. And then 10 inches tall. And I am using the dark side of the Seabrook. Okay, so now we have our ballerina and our Seabrook cut. Now let's cut the large floral piece. This piece is 3 inches wide. I did overlay the shimmer trim over top of it, so it is 3 inches wide, and it is 11 inches tall. Okay, so let's get a piece of that, and you'll see that I actually have this cut to size already, 3 inches by 11 inches, and that's because I cut this and I set it aside to make sure that I did not use this and that I had enough to make this scrapbook layout. I didn't want to start making cards and use up all the paper. Okay, now let's cut the small floral. It is butted right up against that larger floral. Remember, it's the shimmer trim is covering it up a little bit, so that piece is 6 inches wide by 3 inches tall. The small floral is on the back side of the larger floral. And again, this one I had cut 3 inches by 6 inches. I had it set aside just to make sure that I didn't accidentally use it before I did this layout. Okay, now let's cut the mats for our pictures. And I'm going to cut them in mulberry. And those are 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. So I have a piece of mulberry scrap. I am going to cut it, let's see, 6 1/4 here, and then 4 1/4. So there's one mat for my 4 by 6 pictures. Now the piece that's remaining, I don't think either side is big enough to have a 6 1/4 inches. So let me grab another piece of mulberry, and I'm going to cut it 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. And I'm sorry my head is so much in the way, but the camera is right above my head, and when I need to look down at the cutter, I have to get close enough to see it. Okay, so now I think we have all of the major pieces cut for our layout, and we can begin assembly. So here is the layout that we are going to be making. Let's get our papers together. Let's start with the 12 by 12 Scarlet base. Now you will see that this piece has some score lines marked on it. Just ignore that. This was for another project that I was working on that I'm going to be doing in a couple weeks, but I accidentally poked through it, so there was a hole and I couldn't use it for that project. But I thought it would be perfect to use for this, the base for this layout. And so what we're going to do is put the Ballerina paper over top of it. Remember, this piece is 11 1/2 by 11 1/2, and you will pretty much cover up all of those score marks, so I figure it's a good use of that paper. Not to mention, it is actually the last piece of Scarlet that I have. And I'm just going to center the Ballerina on the Scarlet, leaving 1/4 inch all the way around. I'm using the Versamat to help me, just center that. Okay, now let's look at the Seabrook. We're going to put that down. And basically, I'm leaving about 1/4 inch of the Ballerina showing on the top and about 1/4 inch of the Ballerina showing on the left side. Okay, again, I'm just going to eyeball it. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to leave a little bit of that Ballerina showing. So I'm going to use my adhesive. I'm just using the Dots tape runner adhesive. Let me line it up so I can use the markings on the side. And like I said, I'm just going to eyeball it and leave about 1/4 inch on the top and the bottom in Ballerina. Okay, you can see 1/4 inch on the top, 1/4 inch on the side. Okay, now let's put that large floral piece on there. And I put that about, let me use the inches side for you. It is about 1/4 inch, maybe about 5/8 of an inch of the Seabrook showing on the side. And then maybe 1/4 inch. It's really maybe like 3/8 of an inch at the top. But really, you just need to have a little bit of the Seabrook showing at the top and a little bit of that Ballerina showing at the bottom. So we're just going to sort of center it on the page. Let's add some adhesive to it. All the way around the edges. Okay, and I'm going to, again, leave a little bit, like maybe 5/8 from the left side of the Seabrook. And then I'm just going to place it so that some of the Seabrook is showing at the top and then some of this Ballerina is showing at the bottom, okay? And then leave, about 1/4 inch to 5/8 of an inch. Or 3/8 of an inch. Okay, now let's do that small piece. It is 2.5 inches from the bottom of the Scarlet, and it's going to butt up against the large floral. Okay, 2.5 inches from the bottom of the Scarlet. So there's my small floral. Let's put the adhesive on there. I really hate to cover up that beautiful large floral. Look at it. You can really see the mulberry on that nicely. Okay, I'm getting my T-square out and I'm going to count up to 2.5 inches. And then I'm just going to use that to make sure that my piece of paper is straight. And you can see I have it butted up against the large floral. Okay, now I'm going to add the shimmer trim. Look how beautiful that looks on there. It really ties together the gold foil from the other stickers that I'm using. And it's really beautiful on this layout. So here's my shimmer trim. I'm using the gold. If you have Ballerina or Scarlet or anything, you can use any of those colors. But I find the gold the best. Make sure that you leave a little bit of that plastic backing on your shimmer trim to make it easier to come off. Now I'm going to overlap about half on the large floral paper and half on the Seabrook, and then just pull it down, and then I will trim it at the bottom right along with that large floral. And I'm sorry that my head is in the way and you can't see what I'm doing, but I am trimming it right up against the bottom of that large floral. Okay? So you do overlap both sides. Now I'm going to cut this tail off and leave a little bit for the next time you need to use your shimmer trim. You will thank me. After doing it one time, you won't cut it all the way through ever again. Okay, now let's put the mats on. So I'm going to put the 2 mulberry mats. I'm going to put one landscape and one vertical. I'm putting the landscape one right up against the small floral, and the other one is about an inch from the side. But basically what you're going to do is leave about 1/4 inch to the right. So I would take both of these so you can just get a ballpark vision before you actually adhere it down. So again, I'm going to leave 1/4 inch on both sides. I'm using the dark side of the mulberry. So let's add the adhesive around the edges. Okay, and so butt it up against the small floral and about, like I said, 1/4 inch leaving the ballerina. But what you want to do is make sure that you have enough room for the other mat, right, for this mat. Because you don't want it to overlap onto the Seabrook on the left side. You want it to fall within the large floral. And I'm going to kind of leave a little bit up at the top. But you see that flower there that's in mulberry? I want a little bit of that to show so that you can see that this mulberry mat matches. And then also you can see that I have a mulberry flower towards the bottom there, right there, that I want that to show too, so that it matches that mulberry paper really well. Okay, now let's put on our photo placeholders. You can put your photos down if you have them. I don't have mine yet because I'm going to use this for this Valentine's Day. So I'm just going to put the placeholders on there. Okay, now we're going to make this beautiful heart doily thin cut. So let's put the layout to the side and bring in my Sizzix Big Kick. And I'm going to use the Now and Forever stamp and thin cut set. The heart doily comes with this set if you get it with the thin cuts. But there's a lot of other beautiful stamps here. There's the thin cut. But you have the stamp that actually looks like a stamp. Happy Valentine's Day, me and you, hugs and kisses, laugh often, love much. There's a butterfly that's 2-layered. And then there's also a heart that's 2-layered. And then there's this sort of airmail stamp. I have some of these stamps, so I'll just give you a quick view of these. These are for another project. So that's the stamp, and it is stamped in mist. Here's one of the sentiments, laugh often, love much. Let's see what else I have. I have, the butterfly. You can see the 2 layers there. One is in Ballerina, and then the overlay in Mulberry. And then the floral, I did the background in Desert Rose and the top layer in Scarlet. Here's a piece of chocolate. That's from another stamp set called Eat Chocolate. But I'm going to use these for another project, and I just had them all stamped, so I put them all together. But we're not going to use that for this project. All we're going to use is the thin cut, but I wanted to show you the stamps that came with this set. I do have a couple cards where I used the stamps. So I have the Happy Valentine's Day and then the heart thin cut. There's one, and then this one, I'm using that beautiful French background paper, the floral thin cut, or the heart thin cut. Happy Valentine's Day. I used the rose. I did only use 1 layer of the rose on that, and then the stamps and the leaves. And the leaves actually are 2-layered sets are also, just like the rose and the butterfly. But like I said, for this project, we're only going to be using the heart thin cut. So let me get a piece of scrap paper to cut this heart out with. And for this layout, I am going to use a piece of peach. That is peach paper. And I put the thin cut right on there. And really what I love about this thin cut is it cut out so beautifully. You would think with that intricate design that it would be difficult to get out, but it wasn't. You'll see when I pull this off, almost all of those little pieces come right off and they stayed down on my magic mat. Isn't that beautiful? Really, there's only a couple pieces that stayed on there. Most of it stayed on the magic mat. So I'm just going to easily pop those couple pieces out with my finger. I think there's only 3 pieces. I did not even have to get out my precision plate, which I normally do on intricate thin cuts. This one cut beautifully just on the regular mat. I'll get rid of those little pieces later. Now on this layout, I did use Ballerina for my heart. So you can decide which one you like better. I wanted to show you both options. And I did edge around it so that it stood out a little bit more. But this time I thought, let's try something so that it stood out even more. Okay, I'm going to use the back side of my Versamat to stamp on. It's a nice foamy back. And I'm going to stamp the sentiment in Archival Black. For sentiments, I really like to use Archival. I am going to use, I think on this one, the Laugh Often Love Much, because on the sample layout I did Happy Valentine's Day, and if I'm going to use this as a 2-page spread, I want to have a different sentiment, so it wasn't the same. Again, I'm using Archival Black because I find that this gives me the nice blackest ink that there is, and I'm not going to be coloring on this with any alcohol markers or with watercolor or anything, so Archival Black will be perfect. Sorry, my head is in the way. You can see my nice beautiful colored hair there. Sorry. But like I said, the camera is right above my head. Okay, there we go. Look how beautiful that is. Laugh Often Love Much. I find that Archival Black really gives the best impression. I use that anytime I can, unless I am using, watercolors or something. I'm going to clean off my ink pad. Do you guys have this stamp chamois holder? If not, you need to get it ASAP. It is amazing. It keeps your stamp chamois nice and clean. It doesn't get that musty smell if you put it into a box, a closed box. Okay, I'm done with the stamping, so I can flip my Versamat back over. But I am going to edge the outside of the heart like I did in the sample, just so that it stands out a little bit more. And on this one, I'm going to use my finger daubers, and I think I'm going to use a flamingo. So that's just a little bit darker. So see, flamingo. Again, if you're using Ballerina, you can use Ballerina on it, but I like to edge my items with a little bit darker color than what's on what paper I'm using. So here I'm using peach for the die cut and flamingo for the edging. But really, any darker color is perfectly fine. And what I'm doing is I'm just edging it up to where that lace part is. I'm not really going into the main part of the heart. You just want that lace to show up a little bit more. And I think that by edging that, it really makes that lacy part stand out. I do have one finger dauber for almost all of my colors. So now let's get our layout, and we are going to place this just about here. I want it to overlap the photos a little bit, but I want it also to show that floral paper a little bit at the bottom. So that can help you, guide where to put it. I'm going to pop it up with the 3D foam tape. I'm looking for my scissors. Oh, there we go. Okay, cut a piece there. I'm going to put one right down. Oh, I'm going to do this other side first. So the two sides. And I want to remember where I'm going to put this, because you don't want to have it overlap the photo yet. Now, if you have your photos already on there, you don't have to worry about this. But since I don't, I want to be aware that I'm going to be taking those photo placeholders off and putting my photos on. So you don't want to, tape down the heart. So I'm going to leave the one there that I'm covering with my left hand. I'm going to leave the backing on that one so that it doesn't stick to the photo placeholder. Okay, and so I want to make sure that the top of those foam tapes don't go on to the photos, and you can see how the left side is open. Okay, now let's do these little dovetailed flags to the left or to the right of my heart. That one is 3/4 of an inch, and the Seabrook one is a 1/2 inch. So let's find some scrap paper. So I have a scrap piece of Seabrook and a scrap piece of Mulberry. So let's cut those. The Mulberry, like I said, I'm cutting 3/4 of an inch. And it's a little bit out of focus there, but it is 3/4 of an inch. And then the Seabrook is a 1/2 inch. Sorry, my head's in the way, but that is a 1/2 inch. You don't have to worry about the length right now because we're just going to eyeball that. So these are going to go sort of underneath the heart. So to get an idea, the Mulberry one is about 3 inches and the Seabrook one is around 2 inches. So I'm just going to cut it a little bit bigger than 3 inches. So it's awkward trying to do that on camera for you. So I cut that at about 3.5. And then the Seabrook, remember, was about 2 inches. So I'm going to cut it about 2.5. Just so I can get it about the right size. And then I'm going to dovetail both of these. I start by cutting up the middle and then cutting from the corner to the middle. And that's just so that you can sort of get the dovetail centered. Do the same for the Seabrook. So I have those dovetailed. Get the little pieces out of the way. And now is when we're going to sort of figure out the size. Okay, this is too long to fit under here. I do want it to go underneath the heart, but you'll have to watch because you have that foam tape under there, so that it's going to be inhibited by the foam tape. So I'm going to do the same thing with the Seabrook. Just place it up next to there until I get about the look that I want. And I like the look how that is there. So I'm happy with that. And now let's put our adhesive on here. And I'm going to do it off to the side so it's not right on my layout. And unfortunately that was a little bit out of focus, but and again, I'm just placing it, eyeballing it. I'm putting it kind of down in the bottom half of the heart, a little bit below center. Make sure you get those little edges. I wouldn't recommend doing it on your wood table, but I didn't want to do it on top of my layout. Okay. And then I'm going to put this one on top of the Mulberry. And I like to place this so that the center of the Seabrook is slightly below the top of the Mulberry, right? You don't want the center to fall right on the line. I like it just a little bit below. But do it how you like. Eyeball it however you think looks good. Okay, so now all we have to do is put the stickers on. I'm going to put one of those little sentiment sort of tags on the top there. Let's look at this sticker sheet. This sticker sheet really is amazing. I didn't show it to you earlier, but look at how some of those are gold foiled. And that's, again, why I use the gold shimmer trim, because I think that it makes that gold foil stand up. Okay, so here are the little sentiment strips. I really like that cutie pie. I wanted to use that, but I don't like how it's both mulberry. So I'm going to use this one that says so sweet, and that sort of flamingo sort of color matches the heart a little bit. And I am going to pop it up on foam tape. Okay, now you have to be aware, if you don't have your photo on there, you want to make sure that you don't overlay this little tag on top of the picture because you won't be able to put your picture down. If you have your picture already on there, you can place that wherever you want. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it down and I'm going to put it right on top of the mat area and not overlap the photo placeholder at all. So I'm able to take off that photo placeholder and put my photo down. So again, overlap the mat a little bit, but not your photo placeholder. That way you'll be able to put your picture down. Just like this one. Okay, now let's see. Let's put something down underneath the heart, and I'm going to put this other floral spray down there, and I'm putting it underneath a little bit. Again, you have to pay attention. Don't put it over top of the photo placeholder. So when you line it up, make sure that you are not putting it over that. Okay. So you could put it a little bit under the photo placeholder so that when you put your photo down, it might cover a little bit of that top left, but I put it so that it's just on the mat and not on the photo placeholder. So I'm still able to take that photo placeholder off and put my pictures on. Okay, now let's do the gold hearts. You can see there I have 3 gold hearts in kind of a triangle. And do I have 3 gold hearts left? I've got 1, 2, looks like I only have 2 of them left. What else can I use? I could use one of the other ones, one of the other colored hearts. Well, let's just go. So I'll put this one down here, and I'm just setting it on the Seabrook. Put the smaller heart up above the flag. That's kind of hard to place. It's a really small heart. Okay, I like it there. What can I put up at the top left? Maybe I can use that heart that's kind of two-toned. Oh, wait, no, look, I found a bigger heart up there at the top. That was totally escaped my view the first time. So let's replace it. Let's put that there. I'm going to leave the small heart there and put the medium heart up. And again, it's in that triangular pattern. Okay, here I put the butterfly up there because I thought the top flamingo or the ballerina just looked a little bit too plain up there. So I could put that butterfly, but it's a little bit too big. I could put maybe one of these little doilies. I'm not sure. Actually, I'm thinking maybe I'm just going to leave it plain because I don't have that same feeling that it's too much blank space up in the top, which is how I felt with the original sample. But I guess the placement where I did this So Sweet, it didn't look as blank and open there. So there you have it. Isn't this layout super beautiful? And I can't wait to get my pictures on it. The overall design is really gorgeous, and the color scheme is gorgeous. This is the Now and Forever collection. That floral paper is so beautiful. It's my favorite. So I really hope you enjoyed this scrapbook layout. And if you create this layout, please post a picture in my group. I'd love to see what you make. So here is the finished product. Thank you for joining. If you like any of these products, you can go to thecraftychemist.closetomyheart.com. I have a Facebook group, Crafty Chemist Designs, where I go live every Sunday at 4. I invite you to join my Facebook VIP group, The Crafty Chemist Presents CTMH. I also have an Instagram and TikTok, Crafty Chemist Designs. Please check out my artwork there. Thanks for joining. See you next time.